Some Pokemon have one type, but others have two. Dual typings have been in the series since the very beginning, but what if they never existed? Well, my name is Matt, and that's what Elias and I are gonna look at today. Alright, let's get started.
What's up? I'm Elias, and if every Pokemon only had one type, battling would become simpler in some ways. Just as an example, Incineroar is a Fire Dark type Pokemon. A pure Dark type would be weak to Bug, Fighting, and Fairy, but Incineroar's Fire typing cancels out the Bug and Fairy weaknesses, since Fire resists those types. If one type resists a move but the other type is weak to it, you'll take neutral damage. If every Pokemon only had one type, weaknesses and resistances wouldn't cancel each other out like that. All of the Fire types would be weak to Water, all of the Psychic types would be weak to Dark, and so on and so on. That would make remembering type matchups a lot easier because there are fewer moving parts. You'd only need to be concerned with one type, and in some cases an ability. If you see a Lucario, you wouldn't have to think, okay, Flying is super effective against Fighting and resisted by Steel, so I can smack it with a neutral Brave Bird. You wouldn't have to do as much mental math to decide what move to use.
A lot of Pokemon would appreciate only having one type, because 4 times weaknesses just wouldn't exist, outside of a few rare edge cases involving abilities. Camerupt is a Fire Ground type, and both of those types individually are weak to Water. If it was pure Fire type, the damage it takes from Surf would be cut in half. It'd still be weak to Water, but 2 times damage is way more manageable than 4 times. Being 4 times weak to a type is absolutely brutal, because if you run into a doubly super effective move, you're probably just gonna perish. Some type combinations have 2 or even 3 4 times weaknesses. Rhyperior, Golem, Pupitar, and Onix are dual Rock and Ground types, which makes them double weak to Water and Grass. So these guys don't stand a chance against most starter Pokemon. Being pure Rock type would be beneficial to all of these Pokemon, because they could take a Water gun to the face and not immediately drown.
Without dual types, the dreaded Bug-Grass combination also wouldn't exist. Parasect, Leavanny, and Plant Cloak Wormadam are all double weak to Fire and Flying, and they have 4 more weaknesses on top of that. Things were especially bad for Parasect in Gen 1 because Poison used to be super effective against Bug. That means it was also 4 times weak to Poison, making Paras and Parasect the only Pokemon to ever have 3 double weaknesses. Bug and Grass aren't very good defensive types individually, but they're an absolute car crash when you smash them together. Only having one type would be great for all of these Pokemon defensively.
There are 6 dual type combinations that are tied for the most weaknesses in the game. Grass Psychic, Grass Dark, Grass Ice, Rock Psychic, Rock Dark, and Rock Fighting types all have 7 weaknesses, although Solrock and Lunatone's ground weakness is cancelled out by Levitate. Pokemon like Tyranitar and Abomasnow are held back quite a bit by their typing. Tyranitar is one of the best Pokemon in certain formats, but it would be even stronger if it just had one type. Rock Dark is one of the worst combinations in the game, and dropping the Dark type would also eliminate its 4 times fighting weakness. Another Pokemon with 7 weaknesses is Abomasnow. Its Grass Ice typing makes it weak to Poison, Flying, Bug, Fighting, Rock, and Steel, and double weak to Fire. Its defensive stats are alright, but that doesn't mean much when you take so much damage from, like, everything. You're weak to Stealth Rock and U-Turn, and virtually any fire move will delete you instantly. Pure Grass and Pure Ice aren't great defensive types either, but combining them is an absolute train wreck.
But the same way some dual types are terrible defensively, we'd also lose a lot of good defensive combinations. There are 5 type combinations with only 1 weakness. Poison Dark types are only weak to Ground, Water Ground types are only weak to Grass, Bug Steel types are only weak to Fire, Normal Ghost types are only weak to Dark, and Dark Ghost types are only weak to Fairy. That last combination is also well known for having no weaknesses at all prior to Gen 6. A lot of Pokemon benefit from a secondary Steel typing. Steel works well with nearly every type in the game because it adds about a jillion resistances. The pure Water type Piplup eventually evolves into the Water Steel type Empoleon. Water on its own is pretty good defensively, but adding the Steel type gives Empoleon 11 resistances, including 1 immunity. If there were no dual types, Piplup's final evolution couldn't have its type changed. It would stay pure Water, and the final evolution would probably be wildly different from Empoleon to reflect that.
As a whole, though, eliminating dual typings would lead to less damage being dealt overall. Not only would 4 times weaknesses cease to exist, but a lot of moves would lose the same type attack bonus. Nidoking is a Poison Ground type, which means its Poison and Ground moves get a 50% boost. Sludge Bomb and Ice Beam have the same base power, but Nidoking will do more damage with Sludge Bomb, because it shares a type with the move.
Damage output is one reason dual-type Pokemon tend to be better than single-type ones. Dual types get stab on a wider variety of moves, and in some cases they'll only run stab moves. Iron Bundle often runs 2 ice moves and 2 water moves, parentheses, although it's worth pointing out that it doesn't have many coverage options. As far as special moves that aren't ice, water, or normal type go, Robot Santa can learn Air Cutter and that's it. Close parentheses. But I digress.
Excuse me, my body is not cooperating with me. Iron Bundle's damage output would take a hit if it only had one type, and the same goes for a ton of other Pokemon as well. 50% is a huge boost, so losing one of your stabs is a big deal. There are many cases where the stab bonus is the difference between a 2-hit KO and a 1-hit KO. Most of the time, a boost that big comes with some sort of drawback. The Choice Band and Choice Specs boost your damage output by 50%, but you can only choose one move till you switch out. The Life Orb gives you a 30% boost, but every move deals recoil damage, so a 50% boost for just being a certain type is a pretty big deal. Many Pokemon would lose stab bonuses in this hypothetical, so a lot of offensive powerhouses wouldn't hit quite as hard.
Dual types allow for a lot more creative freedom as far as Pokemon designs go. Like we mentioned earlier, if there were no dual types, Pokemon couldn't gain new types as they evolve, like most of the starters do in the actual games. Piplup wouldn't evolve into a Steel type, Rowlet wouldn't drop its Flying type in favor of Ghost, or have the Flying type in the first place for that matter, and we wouldn't get 3 Firefighting type starters in a row.
Which I don't think you're complaining about 3 firefighting starters right now because you're using an Emboar in Pokemon White?
Yeah. Well, White too.
Yeah, once you beat the league, free bacon.
Of course, it's not just the starters that would be affected. Surskit drops its Water type in favor of Flying when it evolves into Masquerain. Seal and Shelter both add the Ice type when they evolve. Seedot becomes a Dark type when it evolves into Nuzleaf, and so on forever and ever and ever. We'd lose out on a lot of type changes when Pokemon evolve.
With no opportunities to add new types, a lot of Pokemon would either be completely different design-wise or not exist at all. You could still combine elements like Fire and Poison, but doing so wouldn't make any difference as far as gameplay goes. Nowadays, most new type combinations seem to exist just to check another box off the list. Toxtricity, Scoville, and Frostmoth are pretty cool Pokemon, but I doubt they'd be created if you could only have one type. There would be no need to sit down and ask questions like, okay, how do we combine Electricity and Poison? Can planes stop flying over my house, please?
No.
Elias, are you sending planes just to mildly annoy me?
A plane flies from Chicago to New York every hour.
Well, I mean, surely there's got to be a lot of traffic between Chicago and New York, because,
there is.
2 of the biggest cities in America, and don't call me Shirley.
You call it yourself Shirley. You know how people will talk about how some Pokemon should have different types? You might hear people argue that Charizard should be Dragon type instead of Flying, Lugia should be Water type instead of Psychic, Flygon and Venomoth could both have like 4 different types each, that kind of thing. Well, if Pokemon only had one type, we'd probably have a lot more discussions like that. Take something like Ludicolo for example. If Pokemon could only have one type, would Grass or Water be more appropriate for a pineapple duck thing that evolves from a lily pad? We think you could go either way on this one, so whichever type you give Ludicolo, there will be a valid argument that it should be the other one.
Hey Elias, what type would you give Ludicolo?
Pineapple type.
Good answer. Another Pokemon that could be either type is Volcarona. As of now, it's a Fire Bug type, and both types make perfect sense. Game Freak could take 2 different approaches for choosing Volcarona's type, and the same goes for many other dual Bug, Flying, and Dragon types. You could focus on Volcarona's primary elemental feature and make it Fire type, or you could focus on what type of animal it's based on and make it Bug type. Personally, I take the first approach, and I'll use the legendary burst to demonstrate why. Articuno is an Ice Flying type, Zapdos is Electric Flying, and Moltres is Fire Flying. It'd be a lot more interesting if you kept the elemental types, Ice, Electric, and Fire. Having a whole legendary trio be the same type would be pretty underwhelming. So I'm not a fan of making them all pure Flying in this case. In the same vein, I make Volcarona a Fire type, and just give the Bug types more standard insect Pokemon.
Some typing decisions would be pretty easy though. Instead of normal Flying type, Pidgeot would most likely just be a Flying type. To be frank, I'm not sure why all the birds and such were dual typed for such a long time.
Hi, Frank.
Bye, Shirley.
Yeah.
We didn't get a pure Flying type until Tornadus in Gen 5, but that's still the only fully evolved one. Corvisquire is also pure Flying, but it gains the Steel type upon evolving into Corviknight. If a bird doesn't have any other elemental properties, it'll usually be given the normal type by default for some reason.
For more videos like this, subscribe to MEPlaysGames and consider becoming a channel member. I also recently uploaded some videos to my music channel that you can check out after this. My acapella group Tonal Recall had a showcase event recently, and we performed a song that I arranged. Shoutouts to our soloists EJ and Chloe. My friend Brady and I did a duet during the showcase as well. You can check out those videos on my music channel MPG, links in the description. Look out for more music from me and Brady in the future. Here's another possible side effect of dual types not existing. There are 2 moves that add types to the target's current combination. Trick or Treat adds the Ghost type, and Forest Curse adds the Grass type. That can lead to all sorts of new interactions, but that's not what this video is all about. If there were no dual types, I'd imagine there'd be more moves like these, maybe even one for every single type.
Is this new?
No, it's been around since Gen 6.
Really?
Yeah!
I didn't play Gen 6. Oh, I wonder if I can buy it. eBay.
I forget. I might have a Pokemon X cartridge that I can loan you.
I don't know, I don't want to loan it, I want to own it. In a series with no dual types, these moves would always create a brand new type combination, which isn't the case in the actual games. You can give Swalot a Grass type, but that'll give you the same combination as Venusaur. But if no Pokemon came with dual types right out of the box, Forest's Curse would be the only way to get a grass poison type. Any Pokemon with 2 types would be a novelty, the same way Pokemon with 3 types are a novelty in the actual games. These moves wouldn't be all that useful in battle, but they would bring something completely unique to the table.
If dual types never existed, that'd also eliminate one of the most common glitches in Gen 1. If you use a move that deals anything other than neutral damage, the game will display a message telling you how effective it was. Super effective, not very effective, yada yada yada, whatever. Anytime a single type Pokemon gets hit by a move, this system works just fine, but dual types cause a weird glitch.
If you hit a dual-typed Pokemon with a move that's resisted by one of its types, but super effective against the other, the move will deal neutral damage. But the game will display a message that says something else happened. For example, Vileplume is a grass poison type. Grass resists ground and poison is weak to it, so it should take neutral damage from Earthquake. The game calculates the correct amount of damage, but it'll also erroneously say the move was super effective. In these cases, the game will always display some sort of message, even though neutral damage isn't meant to come with one. Sometimes it'll say super effective, and sometimes it'll say not very effective. There's a whole priority system in the game's code that determines which message is shown.
Gen 1 is just like a really well-programmed game, isn't it?
Yep.
Welp, that's all we got for today. Leave a comment if you have any other thoughts on this topic, and stay tuned to MEPlaysGames for more grade A nonsense. We'll see you all next time. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.